Hello, today we are in the Florence School of Regulation discussing about multimodal transport, the role of platforms in ticketing and sharing of information in the transport sector. And we have Enzo, who is managing Nugo, which is one of the new and exciting platforms in the transport industry. It is owned by Ferrovie dello Stato, so it's one of these examples of traditional transport providers innovating and launching this platform. So I would like to ask you, why do you think that having a traditional transport provider launching a platform is positive, or what are the values or the positive elements that bring the fact that it is a traditional transport provider, the one that develops a platform?
Well, I think, of course, first of all, is the fact that we have a very significant footprint in the country, in the region in which we operate, because we started and our spectrum currently is, of course, Italy. Then, of course, there's a financial support to do a startup like this, because we have always to remember that is an exercise, MaaS activity is really capital intensive in terms of launch the platform. So it's important that a global group like that is behind us. And I also think I'm really proud of being part of the group of Ferrovie dello Stato, which had this vision, because I think that we are currently the first case in Europe. Then other companies like us are starting in the same dimension, to see in the digital the opportunity to enlarge a bit, to be more conscious of the needs of the customer, of the traveler, and so understand that it's crucial and important to do at the best the traditional work to move people from one station to another, but also to try to fulfill the all needs. So really try to establish a door-to-door platform that enables people to use more and with a better experience the public transport, especially in comparing it with the private cars and using with all the impacts that has, of course, on industry, because it's foreseen to enlarge the cake on which we live, but also in terms of sustainability, of quality of life, and also I think of quality of life of travelers, because I do believe that it's much more fun in traveling through a landscape like this one that we have around us, looking at the window of a train or a car or a bus, without having to be queuing or be concentrated on the road that you are driving in.
So we are discussing about regulation. Yep. As a front runner, what is your experience? I mean, in terms of regulation, what would be your proposal? Is something missing? Is something maybe something that needs to be eliminated from the existing framework? What are your...
Well, in my opinion, I always think that the main point, the crucial point, are vision rather than regulation. Normally, regulation come behind to try to solve a problem and to fix a problem. In this sense, so I think that it's really crucial to have a common European vision of what multimodal system could be for the citizen and also for the tourists that Europe is the first destination in the world in terms of tourism, so it's important also in this sense. In terms of needs, I think that the main problem, the main issue that we have is a common language. So probably on the digital aspect of transportation, we are facing a period which is not so different from the one at the end of the 18th century, where the go-go was different from one country to another. And at the very end, we understood that trying to have a common railway go lets the railway to be really an infrastructure that allow Europe to grow. In this sense, so the common language is important. On the opposite, I do think that is needed in this global vision in European-wise to try to create the condition for which the player, the people who is currently doing the business, so employing people, making investment, having the contact with the customer has a role in this path of digitalizing and finding better solution to the mobility of people. What we have to avoid, in my opinion, is to add the burden of data creation, things like that, without assuring that the companies have the mindset to use safely, intelligently this data, because otherwise we are just creating the greenfield for over-the-top that normally are nowhere, so no regulation will then apply, because of course regulation applies to the entity that are established on a given country, in a given sites, and we see that now the problem that we have with the digital environment is mainly linked to the fact that no rules is concretely able to deal with this major issue. So in this sense, I think that we have to use what digital is capable to give to us, so mainly instead of talking massively on have one single physical ticket to go from Norway to Naples, probably if for the customer, for the traveler, having it collected on the smartphone, on whatever there will be in the future, is the same experience. And so in this sense, digital is really a tool, a powerful tool, to help us to solve some physical problem and a logic problem that we're facing today and that comes from the past. The point, in my opinion, for the interest of Europe and the system of industry that Europe has is really to be aware of this challenge, to be constantly and concretely customer-driven and customer-oriented and customer listening in order to do a service that is really linked to their needs and really creating value for the customer before somebody else just came along, do the small thing that remains undone, and then takes a significant margin in terms of part of value added, with all what comes behind that in terms of labor perspective, growth in our continent.
So thank you very much, and we continue with the discussion on regulation of platforms in the transport industry.
Thank you very much.